What's up, all me Ewoks, tribbles, droids, and Wookiees? It's Anna, also known as that Star Wars girl, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing a review of Avatar: The Way of Water. Now, I was really excited for this movie going in. I got tickets in IMAX 3D. I was ready. I was pumped. I had my candy. I had my icy, and I sat down and I was very disappointed by what I saw, which was very much a letdown. But guys, before I get into that, my channel is Hardcore Shadowband here on YouTube. So every single like, share, comment really helps out my channel fighting the pesky YouTube algorithms. Also, if you guys haven't yet, maybe take a minute, smash the subscribe button, ring that bell for notifications. Make sure that bell is set to all. That way you actually get notifications when I post videos and when I do live streams. And now that's out of the way, let's start the review. So why was I disappointed in this movie? Well, going into it, I very much defended it because people were like, it's been so long, it's been 13 years, that this movie doesn't need to be made, yada yada. And in my head, I'm like, well, James Cameron did Aliens, and Aliens was filmed over 7 years after Alien came out, and everyone said the same thing. And I typically like James Cameron movies, and I was like, you know what, I don't really care the way that the CGI is and everything, the way it's animated and all that. I mean, I don't really care how long it takes as long as it's good. And there was a lot in this movie that was good. I think, though, I would highly recommend, if you guys are seeing it, maybe don't see it the first time in 3D, see it the second time. I actually, as much as I was disappointed with it, I do want to see it again, but not in 3D, just because some of it was so beautiful. Everything underwater looks great in 3D, but there's scenes where it's like they're fighting in the beginning, and it looks like bad video game footage, or I shouldn't say bad video game footage, very high resolution video game footage, but it looks like video game footage. It doesn't look as good as it did in the first movie, and that's just my opinion. Maybe that had to do with the fact that I saw it in 3D. But this is going to be spoilers, but basically the entire plot of the movie could have been avoided if Jake just stayed and was a leader and continued to lead his people and continue to fight like he had in the beginning of the movie and in the previous movie. This movie is about them running away from the bad guys to hide their children. And so they leave their like tree village people where Jake and Neytiri are the leaders, and they go as outcasts and, you know, just to go hide with the water avatar people. And I was just like, in my head, I'm just like, this is so infuriating. Maybe there's going to be some reason why later, but this is just the explanation we get right now. But I was like, that's one of the stupidest plans I've ever heard of, because in this, like, it shows in the beginning, oh, Jake and Neytiri, they have like 3 biological children. Then Grace's avatar, Sigourney Weaver's avatar, was put into a tube, and for whatever reason, it was pregnant. So I guess Sigourney Weaver was getting all frisky in her avatar body. So her avatar was pregnant when she died. And since they put her body back in the tube, she grew a baby, and she gave birth. Her dead avatar gave birth to a baby. And so Jake and Neytiri raise that baby, and that's one of their daughters. And she's like the weird Jesus-like character that's like all connected on Awa on a spiritual level and all that. But so they have 4 kids. They got 2 boys and 2 girls, and, you know, their youngest daughter, she's little. She's a little one. And then there's a human kid. So there was some random human baby that was left there, which turns out to be the bad guy's kid. And the bad guy is the bad guy from the first movie. They just sent his memories and personality back in some kind of little chip. And so when all the humans come back to Pandora, there's a bunch of avatars of the bad guys from the first movie. And the little human kid that wants to be with the Naveen avatar people, he's his son. And so it's about their kids. And Jake and Neytiri kind of take a backseat to this entire movie, which I thought was a huge missed opportunity. And maybe this is just me. Like, I really like puzzles and riddles and problem solving. So what happens is the Jake keeps trying to get his teenage son to like not get involved because he doesn't want them to get hurt. So it shows like the humans coming back to Pandora, and like then it says 1 year later, so they're in this war with them. Sorry about that. I don't know what just happened. But so they're fighting the humans, and the humans aren't going to stop. And so the bad guy finds out, because that bad guy avatars all show up, and the bad guy finds out about Jake and Natiri's kids, and he's like, they're never going to stop hunting our kids, so we all need to leave. Like, we need to take our family and leave. And I'm just like, Jake, you're a Marine, you're a fighter. Okay, if you're worried about your children, maybe don't take your children on the battlefield, or two, send them away. Every single other Avatar person has children and knows the risk of, their kids being in kind of a war zone. So it would have made more sense to send the kids off to the water tribe that he's friends with and just be like, hey, I just need my kids to hide here. Like, I'll do me a solid, because I need to be here and I need to fight the bad guys. And that would have made more sense, because again, Jake and Neytiri, they're barely characters in this movie. They show up when the kids need to be chastised, and when there's something happened, he needs to say an important scene, but they were really, really sidelined in this movie. And it's dumb. It's really about the kids, which I liked. I had no problem with any of the kids or the acting that went into that. The weird one was the Sigourney Weaver daughter, because she was kind of like a clone, and I think she was voice acting it, and so that one was changed, and it just sounded weird. It was off. They gave her a more human nose, and that aspect of it was weird. But it's if you're not really going to use these actors and the story isn't going to be about them, it's going to be about their children, why wouldn't they have Jake and Neytiri stay with the tree people? Because the bad guy knows if Jake and Neytiri take off, they're with their kids. So if they're still there, the bad guy has no reason to believe or know that the kids aren't there. If he's searching for their kids where Jake and Neytiri are, then he's going to stay with the tree avatars if they would have stayed there. But instead they take off, and they're like, we haven't seen them. There's new avatar leader people. And then the daughter, the Sigourney Weaver daughter one, she has a seizure when she plugs into the underwater Awood tree. And so they send out one of their ships that they have to go and help her. And they're like, oh, she's got some kind of epilepsy when she plugs in, and you can't let her plug in. Excuse me. And the bad guys can track that, because the humans have an even bigger base on the Pandora now, because it's takes place a year later. So they're doing all this, and they're infiltrating Pandora, and they're trying to take over Pandora because Earth is dying and whatnot. So they follow that ship, which they should know that they're tracking, but because Jake's not there to tell them, hey, maybe do something so it doesn't get caught on radar, or take some other kind of avatar tool like the flying bird with all of your equipment on it. Don't take the ship that's going to lead the bad guys right to us. The bad guys show up and start fucking with the fish avatar people. And I'm just like, all of this could have simply been avoided if Jake and Neytiri just stayed with their people and they fought there, and they could have sent their children away, or they could have just told their children not to go to the fucking battle scenes, right? Or where the war is taking place. Don't go to the fucking battlefield, kids. I don't know, stay away from that. But you got teenage boys, so it's hard to keep them away from stuff. But I get it. James Cameron wanted to do an Avatar movie about water and underwater. That's what I'm saying. Why don't they just send the kids away? They didn't have to go with them. And they didn't have to give away everything that Jake fought for and everything that he became. In the first movie, it's very much like a hero's journey, and the John Smith, Pocahontas, the Dancing with Wolves kind of thing, which I love. I know people don't like that, but I'm like, it's got Pocahontas mixed with aliens, outer space, fantasy, blue people, and it looks awesome. That's literally all the things that I like in one movie, and a hero's journey, and it's so epic, and everything that happens, it was very I was like, I know what's going to happen, and I got that payoff that it did happen, and it happened even cooler than I thought it was going to happen. So I love the first movie, but this one, it's it's so dragged out, and there's so many scenes, and I get it. It's beautiful. It's very visually appealing, and it's cool to see, but it wasn't nearly as good as the first movie. And there's just, if I hadn't watched the first movie and I just watched this movie, I think I would have enjoyed it a little bit more without that context. But because I have the context of the first movie, watching this, I was very irritated, because I'm like, the main character isn't even the main character anymore. He's sidelined, Neytiri is sidelined. They show up to the water people like, you have to learn our ways. And Jake and Neytiri don't. There's one scene of Jake learning how to ride the fish the flying fish thing. The entire time it's showing like the water people leader kids teaching their kids how to do stuff. So the kids know everything. And then when there's the big battle at the end, Jake and Neytiri they don't know how to breathe underwater correctly because they never learned. So Jake and Neytiri basically did nothing. She's just there in like random scenes to cry over stuff and to like fight and to like be a mom. She's very much underutilized. Also, I don't know if this was something that was like purposely done, but they don't show, when they show the kids training, they don't show any of the girls struggling. So they don't show Neytiri struggling how to ride the water creatures. They don't really show, well, the one younger daughter is younger, but the one Sigourney Weaver daughter is really good at it right off the bat. But they show Jake struggling, and then they show his two sons struggling, and it's like, okay, so the girls are just good at everything. Like that, I thought was a little bit. I'm like, all right, that's the closest thing I would say to a woke moment in this movie. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's the environment, oh, it's trees, and I'm like, James Cameron, he's said it since the beginning, and like you can go watch like interviews of him back in the like 80s. He's a bit of a hippie, and the reason he made Avatar, the reason he wrote the story, was to do the tree hugging hippie stuff. So that to me isn't woke. It's just his own personal like beliefs and ideology, and it's his movie, it's his universe that he created. So I don't see that being an issue. And even this one with the oceans, and he said he wanted to do, protecting the oceans and the environment. I don't think that that's woke. I think that's just, that's what he believes in, and that's what he cares about, which again, this is his IP. These are his characters. This is his universe. That's fine. The closest thing to being woke in this movie was the girls are just kind of good at everything and the boys have to train for it, which, I mean, we don't really get to see, boys becoming men. So I will say it does balance that a little bit. When I was watching it, I did notice it. That did kind of stick out like a sore thumb to me, at least in my opinion. You don't have to take it, for, whatever. It's not the gospel truth. It's just my opinion. But so the water people like have this bond with like these whale things, and there's like one whale that's exiled. So the main character really, or the one that you kind of follow the most in this movie, is Jake's second son, or like, so he's got the older son and then the younger son. So it's his younger son that's more of the main character that the kind of story revolves around. And like, he likes the water tribe daughter, the leader's daughter, and her hair is kind of like Brittany Vente's. I was like, oh, look, like, I feel like Brittany could cosplay as her or something. But the older son is like very good at everything, right? He's the older brother, so the younger brother that lives in his older brother's shadow. So they fight with the water tribe boys, and they're like, oh, let's take you out beyond the reef where it's dangerous, and there's a shark scene, and I hate sharks. But the son, he gets saved by this like whale thing, and the whale's missing a fin, and he's exiled, and they're like, you can't be around that whale is bad. And they all bond with the other whales, and it's this whole scene of them bonding with their whales, and they're talking to the whales, and these whales are like way more intelligent. But the humans, instead of getting unobtainium, that rock that they wanted in the first movie, they want some kind of yellow gooey vial that's in the whales' brains because it stops humans from aging. And so they try to kill these whales just to drill out that vial. And I guess like each vial that's about like this big is worth like $80 million. And so they're like, that's what's funding everything. And I'm like, all right. And so they just waste, they waste all the rest of the whale. They just want the brain thing. And so they kill like the water tribe chief's wife's like whale bonded soul sister whale, and they kill her and her baby. And so the water people find it, and they're all mad, and the bad guys got led to where Jake and his kids are hiding, so they're gonna like try to fight him. And the younger son goes to try to warn his whale, and that's where the bad guys are, and the bad guy shows up, but all the kids are there, so he wants to get Jake's kids because he knew that they were the kids because earlier the bad guy that's in the Avatar body, he goes to see where he died, and Jake's kids just happen to be there, and he finds all of them, and he sees their hands, so he knows that they're Jake's kids, and that's when he's on like the warpath to kill their kids. And he finds the son, like his son there, and so his son is trying to show them how to be avatars, but like not helping them help them, but trying to help them. He's like, oh, this is how you would do that. And he like was laughing at them, and he just doesn't want to be tortured. So he's like somewhat helping them, but like not giving them any of the information that they actually need to find Jake and Neytiri and the kids. So bad guys show up because they're hunting the whales with the water people because they know that Jake and his kids are with the water people, which, again, if Jake and Neytiri would have stayed in the trees, they would have never thought that the kids were with the water people. They would still be attacking the tree people, and none of this, would have gotten to the water people. And so I'm just like, oh my God, Jake, you're supposed to be smarter than this. At least you were in the first movie. And Neytiri did a good job of trying to scream at him like, no, we're not leaving in the beginning, but that didn't obviously win out. So there's this huge fight scene where all the water people are fighting the humans and the bad avatar people. And the bad guy gets his kids and he's like, I'm going to kill your kids if you don't come and surrender yourself. And the whole thing is about him getting Jake and getting revenge on him and trying to get his kids. And it's this big water explosion. The exiled whale comes and like jumps on the boat and helps the humans. And that's why he was exiled, was because he fought back. The whales never fight back, but he was the one whale that saw his entire family get killed. So he fought back, and that's why he's exiled from all the other whales. And so he comes to save because he bonded with Jake's son. And so he comes to go save them, and the whale comes and the whale saves the day for a bit. And then the boat, the explosions, everyone's dying, everything's on fire. The kids are trapped inside the boat, and the bad guy, he gets the daughters, and he's got the daughters tied up, and so the boys try to go get the daughters, and then Jake's son gets shot and dies. The older brother, they go try to save the sisters, and so, but they don't save the sisters, and so the brother, he dies. He gets shot in the crossfires, and they're all crying on a rock. And Neytiri's fucking pissed, and the bad guy wants to kill Neytiri because she killed him, but he also wants to kill their children, but the daughters are still stuck on the boat. So Jake's son dies, they're all crying, but they got to go get the kids, and so they all have to go onto the boat to fight the bad guy, and everyone else either died or disappeared. All the water avatar people aren't there helping Jake at all. It just goes from like the water's full of all of these people and all these avatars fighting to it only being Jake and his family. Like everyone just took off. And I was talking about this with Peaches on like way home, and I was like, they just all disappeared. She's like, no, the battle was done. They went home, and I'm like, the chief's daughter was like sitting with the dead body watching him. Like, I'm pretty sure the chief would be like, my daughter was tied up 5 seconds ago. Where the hell is my kid? The Water Clan chief and his wife, apparently they care all about the whales, but they don't care about their fucking daughter who was taken by the bad guys. They didn't check to see what was wrong with her. So when Jake and Neytiri are trying to fight the bad guy and get their kids back from getting, almost killed by him, I'm like, where the hell are all the water avatars? They literally just took off. And I'm like, the whale just took off too. I'm like, everybody just left. And it's just like the boat is burning. Apparently all the humans died. Everybody died except the one bad guy and Jake and his family. And so it's just Jake and Neytiri trying to fight to like get their kids back. And it's this whole shit show. Jake almost dies, and like the bad guy and Jake are fighting while the Neytiri is after the daughter because the little kid fell in a hole and the ship is sinking, and they're trapped and they can't breathe and they can't get out. And Neytiri didn't do any kind of training to, learn how to breathe underwater and swim. So it's just a lot of stuff happens. And again, the kids save the day. The kids are the only ones that train. The kids are the only one that knows the way of water and whatnot. And so the kids have to save their parents because now all of a sudden, even though Neytiri and Jake fought many, many battles and won and were leaders for over a decade at least, Neytiri's been fighting her entire life. Jake was a Marine. Apparently, they are completely incompetent now, and their children are the ones that can do everything except keep their older brother alive because he dies. And so Jake is like drowning, and the son has to go and save Jake, and then the human son goes and saves the dad avatar, the bad guy, and so the bad avatar lives and takes off, and they're like, oh, a son for a son kind of thing, and then it's all happy dandy except the brother died, so they do a little funeral for the brother that died, and then Jake is just like to his living son, he's like, you know the way of water, and then it's all dramatic and the movie ends, and I'm just like, none of this would have happened. Their son wouldn't have died. The bunch of whales wouldn't have died. a bunch of the water avatar people, a bunch of these humans wouldn't have died if Jake and Neytiri just would have stayed with the tree people and not run and kept their kids at home, or sent their kids to go live with the water people and kept them safe. And James Cameron still could have done this whole movie with the way of water, with the kids learning. And I think that would have been much stronger, and that wouldn't have destroyed Jake's character if he's just like, Jake's like, no, we got to stay here. We're in the front lines of battle. I got to keep the bad guys away from my children, and sent his children off. And maybe the kids did something stupid that alerted and got caught on camera, so the bad guys go after them, and Jake and Neytiri have to show up at the end, which would have made sense as to why they didn't know how to swim properly or breathe properly underwater, because apparently they weren't doing any training of any kind while their kids were doing it. Apparently their kids learned everything, and again, these two people that are extremely competent and basically the best of the best at what they do at everything, now all of a sudden aren't. So it was just a gaping plot hole for me, and it makes this movie, like, it makes me very angry. And you might say, Anna, you're overreacting a little bit. I don't think I am, because when something takes me out of a movie like that, it really, really bothers me. And I think that was a gaping plot hole, and it doesn't make sense that if you were a parent really concerned about your child, yeah, of course you like want to go with them, but you would, as a parent, know that if you really want to keep your kids safe, you know, you need to keep the enemy away from them, and you have to have that distraction, because the bad guy knew where if Jake and Neytiri disappeared, that's because they went into hiding with their children, which is exactly what happened, and they ended up, you know, losing a kid. And all of that could have been avoided, and James Cameron could have still had his movie if Jake and Neytiri would have just stayed in the trees and sent their kids to like his friends in the water tribe, which would be the last place that they would look for them. And they could have still done the entire movie, and they could have done the whole water shit, which is basically what happened, because Jake and Neytiri don't do anything except to lecture them when they get into fights with the other boys or do something stupid like go into enemy territory. But yeah, so that's basically the movie. I will say, maybe it's just because of the 3D. I don't think they did a as good job with the effects as they had previously, and that could just have been 3D that I saw it in. I think if I do see it again, I will definitely not see it in 3D. I would still want to see it in IMAX. I would highly recommend, if you guys are watching it, to go to the movie theater that has reclining chairs, because I was dying after all that time and not being in a reclining chair. So definitely make sure that you are in one if you go and see it. Don't see it in 3D on your first go. Wait until your second go, because I thought that everything looked better in the first movie. Everything underwater looked great, but everything above water, Jake's hair, that's another thing. Their hair wasn't even as well animated in this one as it was in the first one. And James Cameron in an interview was like, oh yeah, we zoomed in on the faces and all that. And I'm like, that was better in the first movie though. Like everything, I don't know. I think it looks better in the first movie. This movie is enjoyable if, you know, you don't really care about consistencies in plot, about plot holes and all of that stuff. If you just want to go look at something that's pretty, great movie. But yeah, I am extremely disappointed, and I was really, really looking forward to this movie. So I'm, yeah, very disappointed. It's funny though, when I got to the theater, there was literally people dressed up like these two girls that were cosplaying as avatars, and they were like literally naked with body paint. And I was like, oh my God, I wasn't expecting that. But yeah, everyone, if you guys saw this movie, let me know what you think down below in the description, or excuse me, in the comment section. If you guys liked my review, please smash the like button. If you didn't, that's okay too. Thank you so much for watching this far through. And guys, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And may the force be with you, because we are really, 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 really gonna need it. Bye, everyone. Oh, don't forget to subscribe. Bye, everyone.
Also guys, I have a Twitch channel where I play video games like Elden Ring and KOTOR, as well as an Instagram where I post photos from my recent cosplay escapades. If you guys aren't following me on either of those, go do so now. The link is in the description of this video. And just in case if you guys are interested in my art, I have an art Instagram as well, where I post all of the time-lapse videos from my recent project, the Eye project, as well as other projects that I've worked on if you scroll down further. And if you're interested in purchasing some prints of my art or stickers or bookmarks and stuff like that, any kind of merchandise that I make based on the stuff that I paint, you guys can go over to my Etsy. It's the Art of Anna TSWG. Everything again that I've showed you will be linked down below in the description of this video. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.